Right now I'm listening on
All right, welcome everybody. Today,
the Trinity in
we're
the
gonna
Old
begin our
Testament,
lecture
Part
series
1, Genesis and
on all
Exodus
of
with
the
Jay
references,
Dyer.
or at least all the ones that I found, which is probably not exhaustive because every time I go back and read, I find new references, new things I missed. That's of course because the Bible is a very deep book and requires a lifetime of reading, and you still never on the depths of it. There's always more that you didn't see or to understand. More depth, more connections to make. And so, as I mentioned, the last few years, I've reread through many of the Old Testament books over and over and over, precisely because I'm really interested in this topic. And what becomes evident is that we see the Trinity everywhere. And as I said in multiple responses and multiple previous videos, to be very clear, to get started, this does not mean that every aspect of the same definition is understood by the Old Testament saints. As St. Maximus says, the Trinity enlightened Abraham to see and know that he was worshiping the triad, 1 and 3 and 3. What was necessary for them to was that they worshipped a monarchical father, the Father God of Elohim, which is plural. That Father has a son or a angel messenger of the covenant, the angel or the messenger of his presence, in whom is his name, who is his face, who is his glory, is also one like the Son of Man. Although that revelation is not total in Genesis, much of that revelation is there. In other words, what I'm saying is that more and more revelation comes as we get closer and closer to the New Testament. And so the New Testament really is a confirmation of what came before. That's why the New Testament itself constantly goes to the Old Testament to prove its teachings. Jesus proves his Trinitarian teaching in the Gospel of John from the Old Testament. The apostles proved their doctrines in the Old Testament. When Justin Martyr, writing prior to usage of the word Trinitas, or triad, or Tertullian, or Theophilus, he utilizes the Old Testament text when he disputes with trifo in one. If the Old Testament did not teach this, it would not be worth going to those texts to prove these doctrines. And the fact that they go to these doctrines presupposes that these texts teach this doctrine, and that the saints of that time believe these doctrines. Hence why Jesus says implicitly, they don't have to know homoousios. They know Yahweh, his angel messenger, and his spirit, because that's revealed over and over and over. And the Old Testament writers themselves reveal that that's what they understand about Yahweh. So those are the things that we want to keep in mind. That's what we want to be clear about, because plethora of nonsense and absurdities seen last 3 days after bringing this up again in regard to Trent. Warren's fundamental mistake from a year or two ago. And then doubling down, tripling down on this point. It's perfect timing, really, to hit this topic, as well as to stress that this also undercuts the Vatican II natural theology presuppositions, which allow them to say that Muslims and Christians worship the same God. So this will undercut them, and it will undercut the Roman Catholics and Muslims, Roman Catholics, and Jews be undercut by these arguments.
Dragonborn.
Now, I'm not going to replay the Daniel Jew opening statement. You can go and watch that. I've played it many times. In fact, maybe I'll just link it. It's called Trinity, Jewish Trinity. In that video, I list several sources that tell us that modern Jewish scholarship is beginning to admit and note these things. For example, borderlines that book right there is one of the relevant books about this. There's Benjamin Sommer, Bodies of God. There's Boyarin's book. There's the Schaeffer text and the Siegel to Powers text. All of these are referenced.
I didn't kill him.
Two Gods in Heaven, Schaeffer. Jewish Gospels by Boyarin. Two Powers in Heaven by Siegel. All of those are relevant to this talk. So here's that. The other thing we want to point out too is that we are not today going to be going into the nuances and the specifics of the Orthodox doctrine of Trinity. You can watch that in its explication in terms of what monarchical Trinitarianism is. We're here at Dr. Bo Branson's page right there.
Yes, you are.
So there's Bo Branson's lectures. Dr. Bo, a good friend of ours, on monarchia of the Father and the very Cappadocian, I guess you could say, doctrine of the triad that is the norm for the Orthodox Church by Constantinople I, the Second Ecumenical Council.
What the fuck am I going to do?
So those lectures will deal with the specifics of what they're saying about the persons. That's not going to be the focus of these lectures. These are only going to be scriptural texts and analyzing and looking at what's presented there. So let's get into the first section here. We're going to go to Genesis. Now remember, if you go back a few years,
alright, it's Ulfric Stormcloak, guys. Jarl of Windhelm, that's who we're joining. I did the eeny, meeny, miny, mo, catch the tiger by the toe, and I did, and it landed on Jarl Ulfric Stormcloak.
We're not going to be going through every chapter.
So we're going to join...
every single verse of these chapters. We're going to be looking
I don't really want to join the... Yeah, I'm not really fucking set on it. Like, I just...
familiarity with some of these passages. So hopefully that makes sense. We will also be cross-referencing at times because, of course, we do come from the Orthodox Christian paradigm. So I will be looking at New Testament passages. I won't be restricting my argumentation, my approach to only Old Testament passages because for us, of course, these are a holistic thing. We think that Jesus is really the summation, the telos of the Old and the New Testament. So they kind of find their summation and their meaning in him. Thus, messianic prophecies, although not necessarily directly proofs of the triad, the key elements in this holistic picture. Some of them actually will be proofs of the triad. Even though they're not direct proofs, many of the messianic prophecies will be indirect proofs because they're pointing to this figure that is, of course, quite obviously the person of Christ. The other thing that we're going to say, too, is that the references to the modern Jewish scholars, not to say that Jews have accepted the Trinity. Obviously, that's not what we mean. It's not to say that early rabbinic sources believe the Trinity. The point of the Jewish scholars for about the 100th time is that early Judaism and Christianity were not so, let me rephrase that, early Judaism for the official departure, and even after the departure between Christianity in the 1st, 2nd centuries, Judaism was not monolithic in its Unitarian ideas.
Why is a foreigner?
That's the point of Two Power stuff. That's the point of the Summers text.
What?
So let's
First off,
because what we find out
I'm a Nord.
Is that the word that's used is, of course, Elohim. So when it says God created, and then it says that Spirit is over the waters. Right. Looking for my... Yeah, here we go. Word that's used as Elohim.
But first, tell me. Fair enough. But are you
this is the ordinary plural sense of the word, referring to rulers, judges, divine representatives, sacred beings, angels, etc., even humans,
so long as
gods, demons.
Sending you to Serpent Stone Island. It's where men
and so, really, it's sort of like a full form of deity.
By the ancients. You kill an
so, from the very outset,
all the proof
you have this use on purpose. And I'm not saying that that any of those one things automatically proves the Trinity. Trinity is a doctrine that we come to from a holistic collection, all of the passages that we're going to be looking at, which is, again, a lot. So this will be a series. Obviously, it's not going to be able to fit into one talk. We see then that the spirit of Elohim is over the face of the waters. Later passages use this same type of terminology and let us know that these distinctions are not unique to Genesis. For example, in Psalm 29, the voice of the Lord.
I wonder if I'm making a mistake.
Now notice, pay attention to this idea of the voice, the logos, because that's going to come up, especially in the Septuagint version. The voice of the Lord is over the waters. The logos of the Lord is over the waters. So in other words, in Psalm 29, we have Yahweh. We have his voice. We also have his spirit. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. John 1 is a direct parallel to Genesis 1. John 1 is a parallel, a playing on, say, what's in Genesis 1. The beginning was the Word was with God, and the Word was God. So we see that Father and the Son are involved in this creative process, and that's precisely why in Genesis 1, it's Elohim. And that's why we're told, for example, let us make man in our image. So man is a triadic being. John 1, of course, goes on to talk about the incarnation. And then we have the reference in John 1 to the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, well, I'm
playing.
I'm going to be the Stone Clubs this playthrough, and I'm just going to play this high king
waters
Skyrim
event, this miraculous theophany at Christ's baptism.
for that, and then I'll. You should have played the. So.
This is also mirroring the
We'll
miraculous
switch it up.
event of the creation
Switcheroo.
rolled in Genesis 1. And that just as there's a theophany, a triad manifested in Genesis 1, triad manifest here. John bore witness saying, I saw the Spirit descending from heaven like a dove, and he remained upon him. Upon whom you see the Spirit descending, is he who baptizes with the Spirit. And I have seen and testified that he is the Son of God, the Lamb of God, it goes on to say. So you notice that the Spirit over the waters, first creation. Now we have the Son of God in creation. The Spirit is over the waters. There's a Shekinah glory. The Spirit hovers. So the exact same Spirit hovers over the temple. Known as the Shekinah. This is a theophany, a divine manifestation. It's the same cloud. Is it? What? At the dedication of the temple, and I think 1 Kings 8. And then it's the same cloud that we see, or the same Spirit we're seeing here, over the waters, the baptism of Messiah. So there's a first creation, a new creation. New creation, of course, being the humanity of Christ, and then it would be. But, so again, it's important to see that we're not going to restrict it to just the Old Testament passages, although all of them cross-reference these as well. So, as we go through chapter 1, let us make man in our image. Again, us is Elohim. And according to our and we'll scroll down. And you can see that it is there, Elohim. Now, it's a little more interesting because we'll go to 3. And it says they heard the sound of God walking in the garden, and Adam and his wife hid themselves from presence of God. So a couple things to say here. First of all, it says in John 5 that no one sees the Father at any time. Now, if no one sees the Father at any time,
Also, I kind of just
then that
want to
means
be.
that the
I want to be
Father
High King of an
doesn't have
independent
a
Skyrim.
visible manifestation of himself. But all throughout the Old Testament, we find this
I'm
form
not
and
sure
this
that
face
you
and this
can.
manifestation, this glory,
You're alive. I misjudged.
this image,
It's time
Fuck
we made
you,
this
Dalmar.
this icon of him
You ready to take the
that is
oath?
distinct from him. And we're going to see that as
Before
we
you,
go
you
past
must
it.
also
Well,
pledge
that's what here there's
unswerving loyalty
a
to
theophany
your fellow Stormcloak.
walking in the
That's
garden.
spirit.
What an amazing situation. This theophany prior to the incarnation. Which is to a degree of mystery.
Jarl of Windhelm,
Because even though the Father has no image, no
even to my lord.
except that of the Son, who is his direct icon and image, according to
Now,
verse 1,
which means you get to and
the
hear.
only way that this is
You're a
possible
Stormcloak now.
is that
You
if
have to
there is
look
this
hard.
second person. And the verse here, which is from the Masoretic text, it says, they heard the sound of God walking in the garden, and Adam and his wife hid in the presence. See that later where we note the angel of the presence, distinguished from the Father. And we look at the Septuagint translation of the Orthodox Study Bible. We have that. It says, then they heard a voice, God walking. So this is interesting because in the Septuagint translation, the Old Testament, many passages, for example, voice appears to Elijah. Voice is logos. In other words, if you're reading the Greek, you would immediately see, then they heard the logos.
Whatever you've heard, I
walking
can
in the garden.
spells and incantations for those
The
with
logos of the
talent
Father
to carry.
walking in the garden. So it would be even clear.
Strength and steel
Not that
are
it's
well
not
and
also
good,
clear even in the Masoretic text. Even the Masoretic text, which is not our norm, still actually has abundance of the same Trinitarian ideas. It's just, as Paul says, not really paid attention to by modern Jews, because the modern Jews are not that concerned with the biblical texts. They're more concerned with Talmud. So they don't really, they affirm these, at least verbally. But the Talmud really displaces and supplants these texts. Another point, too, is to keep in mind that Adam and Eve are said to be made in the image of God. Well, if the Father has no image, how are Adam and Eve made in the image? The Father does have an image. The Father's image is the Son, this same voice that's walking in the garden, the same logos walking around. And because he has this form, Adam and Eve made in his image, a Christocentric image. This is why Paul says that Adam and Eve, or Adam especially, is a type of Christ. So note that the typology also indirectly, as Adam is a type of Christ, the typology indirectly proves. So a distinct person, because remember, no one sees the Father at any time. That's what John 5, I think. You've neither beheld his form. Something like that. You've neither known him nor beheld him, or something like that. Exact terminology, something to that effect in John 5, I think. But, so those are some of the outset passages that we know right away that this is not being revealed as some sort of generic Unitarian faith, if you're paying attention to the text. On top of that, even the Orthodox Study Bible, the very second page, has a great, the first page, which is a note about creation, says that the Orthodox doctrine is that the one triune God created the world. And then the very next page tells you that the God of the Old Testament is the Trinity. You have the Orthodox study. Just open it up to this page. And this is not all the passages, but this is a series of passages that obviously So it makes the very point that we made there about the Elohim, for example. Thank you to the mods. Now, note too that not every passage so far in Genesis has told us everything. And we're not saying that the totality of Revelation is right there. First of all, Adam and Eve are directly interacting with God, so they already know this. Okay, so they don't have to learn what Isaiah learns by the time of Isaiah. They already know that the person that they're interacting with is, as they said, the Logos of God walking in the garden. You see. So this already kind of, I think, refutes the silly notion that in order to make this case, we have to say that these Old Testament saints know all of the Nicene definitions. Now that's immediately refuted by the fact that the pre-Nicene fathers argued for the Trinity. If you admit the pre-Nicene fathers believed in and argued for the Trinity, as we showed in our lecture that we did with Inspiring Philosophy, then you're already admitting this point. Knowing the extent of Greek definitions is relevant. They're helpful. But if we translate the message of the gospel into Inuit, they don't know Greek terms, and yet they can still worship the one true God. So that's a word concept confusion fallacy going on.
Yeah, fuck those word concept fallacies.
So, as we move on, we have, of course, typology.
You guys want to see something fucking
Noah.
sick, bro?
There's symbology and typology with Noah, but I'm not gonna say that, oh, well, the dove landing ark is like a proof of anything, because you're only going to believe that the dove landing is a proof of something if you already kind of understand a dove in New Testament reference as a symbol of the Spirit, but we're not primarily focusing on typology, only when it's relevant. But first important theophany that we have, I think, out of this is the covenant with Abraham. And so God says to Abram, get out of your country, I'll make you a great nation, I'll bless you out of your father's house, etc. Those that curse you, I will curse. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed. So this is all the things in some way are going to receive this massive blessing through the descendant of Abraham. But here we just have this statement that God spoke to him. Not really clear exactly how this happened. But then we have in verse 7 where it appeared to Abraham. So the speaking at the first part could be in various ways. It could be a voice like at the baptism of Christ, where the voice out of heaven, this is my beloved son. It could be a vision in the night. It could be an angel. We don't know. It says who spoke. So there's a very specific specification here in verse 7 related to liturgical worship. And yes, liturgy began in the garden. To get precise here. But it says, to your descendants I will give this land, and there he built an altar. So notice that contra Islam and Protestantism, there's always an altar necessary for the interaction between man and God. And even back to the story of Cain and Abel, right? Even though we don't read necessarily about an altar, the fact that there's a sacrifice and an offering, and God accepts the offering of Abel, presupposes the same point.
I don't like
But you'll note that it says, and he moved there, the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent at Bethel. Bethel means house of God. So there's a lot of symbolic imagery here, a lot of meaning in the terms and the names. In fact, the land itself, of course, is very important in terms of typology, because being given the land and being promised the land, and remember, at this time, the land is the property of the righteous. Remember this? Few know this. You know this. You know this because they don't realize and recognize that Melchizedek is the priest of what? Salem. Salem is identified in the Psalms as Jerusalem. So Melchizedek at this time is a Gentile priest who has the true worship of God, priest altar, in Israel. So Israel is the property of the righteous at this time. So Abraham's converting and going to the Gentile priest Melchizedek to receive the blessing that Hebrews 7 argues shows the superiority of the Melchizedekian priesthood over there. Thus, when Joshua and David are conquering the promised land, they are reconquering
Damn,
it
yeah,
from
finally
pagans who had taken it
cut a
from
dude's
the
head
righteous in the days of Melchizedek. We're not told exactly how that happened. We know is that at the time of Melchizedek, as the priest and king of Salem, it's the city of the righteous. But by the time that we get to Joshua, they're having to take it back from the Canaanites and the Jebusites who had taken it and abused and destroyed God's people. So remember, God's people are not strictly only limited to Abraham. Abraham is converting to a church that already exists. Not told a lot about that, but it's there. Now the promise to Abraham is that his seed and this tribe will become a great nation. Obviously the Jewish people, same as the Hebrews. People get into all these idiotic word confusions and lose their minds over things that are not that complicated. Hebrews or Jews, that means the same thing. Judeans, Yehudites, same thing. And that people group is going to be important because that's where the Messiah will come from. So what happens to Melchizedek and his people, we don't know. Eventually, apparently, they end up missing and destroyed, at least from Israel, because Israel gets taken over by these pagans. While that's happened, God has preserved his church, his remnant, through this seed of the righteous house of Abraham. But it's very important, as Summers notes, if you read Summers' book, very important
Shut the
book.
fuck up, John. I knew that. Like,
I mean, again, I've read this many times. I miss a lot of these elements. Okay, so Benjamin Summers' book, and again, we're not saying that he's not a Christian, right? He's a Jewish scholar, and I don't even think I think he's relatively liberal. There's so many amazing insights in this book. Every Christian should have this book, okay? Bodies of God in the world visible. Well, guess what he does when he does his looking through Genesis? Summers shows all these different passages and meanings in terms of the significance of created things. Okay, so he talks a lot about Bethel, and he talks about this altar here. So notice there's actually a place that's called House of God, and Abraham builds an altar here. This is essentially a kind of proto-church, proto-temple, etc. That means that things and areas and places can be now marked off as, not that they weren't, but that here we're getting explicit textual evidence that that's the case. So God is not iconoclastic, is Summers' point. We should already begin to see this in the time of Abraham, that God is not iconoclastic. God is iconoclastic against idolatry, but that's not the same thing as being iconoclastic. That's why the temple will be filled with imagery. And then we read the story of Abraham as a type of Israel himself already. Where does he go? He goes into Egypt and deals with Pharaoh and leaves. That's a type of the Israelites that will go into Egypt and leave. Do you see that?
Movies.
So Abraham is already a kind of a recapitulation of Israel himself. But that's not really relevant to what we're talking about today. But I did want to talk about the fact that you already have liturgical worship. You already have the consecrating of holy ground here with the house of God at Bethel, Elohim's house. And you already have a messianic prophecy that his seed, and Galatians makes it very clear who the seed of Abraham is. Not Hagar, it's not Ishmael. It's Isaac, but the ultimate seed is Jesus.
What the fuck? Was I just betrayed by Galmar?
Of Abraham, in the faith of Abraham, to be a seed of God, a son of God, is in Christ. That's the only way to inherit the promise.
The Bone Walker.
So the next passage we want to look at is the coordinates passage. You get this whole exciting situation with Lot. And then we come to 50. After these things, Logos came to Abram. Remember in the Septuagint, it's the voice, it's the Logos. The Logos came of God. Logos of God, the Word, came to Abram. There's God and the Word of God. The Word of God came to Abram. Is the Word of God impersonal? Is it a book? There's some people in the chat. Thank you to everybody sort of correcting these goofy ideas. After these things, the Logos of the Lord came to Abram in a vision. So remember, even though it's in a vision, it's still a visible manifestation, right? Vision, visible. So it cannot be the thought. It must be this word or Logos. Guess what? Who's the Logos? Every Christian knows Jesus is the Logos. Abraham is talking to interacting with Jesus. And remember, Jesus says this. Abraham rejoiced to see my day. You saw it and was glad. I will make you great. I will reward you, etc. And then again, the voice of the Lord came to him. In the Septuagint, it's voice here. This one will not be your heir, but the one that comes from your body will be the heir. And your descendants will be as stars. This is, of course, a messianic prophecy because the seed will come from Abraham, who will bless all the nations. We know that's the Son of God. We know that too because that's who's speaking to him. The one speaking is the one that will be. Who are you? I am. Now remember, this is also a Paul's argument that he's accounted righteous here prior to circumcision. This is Genesis 15. Circumcision is not until Genesis 17. So he's already righteous, thus showing that righteousness is not contingent upon circumcision. It is possible to be made righteous without circumcision. Now, this is an amazing passage that Summer, I think, focuses on in his book. Now, bring me a 3-year-old heifer,
I'm not sure.
a 3-year-old goat, a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a pigeon.
Was right.
And he brought them and cut them in two.
Oh, he didn't.
And down the
He didn't
middle,
lose
and
a lot of
each
people.
side
What were
opposite
they
the
doing
other. But he did not cut the
Various
birds in two.
spies are
He
ever
drove
never
the
forget.
vultures away.
I trust you give
The
them.
sun went down to deep sleep, fell upon him.
I'm glad you're
In
here.
great darkness.
I have a message.
So this is the presence of God appearing, because we read in the Psalms many times that the presence of God appears. It is like Mount Sinai, it's great darkness, right? So this is a Sinai type imagery here.
Often have no need for words.
And Abraham,
There are but a few simple truths.
he said that God said to Abraham, know that your descendants will be strangers in the land, predicting the Egypt,
will know my meaning.
the bondage. And will serve them and afflict them for many 400 years. In the nation that they serve, I will judge, and afterwards you will come out with great possessions. They will. And then it says, and it came to pass when the sun went down, it was dark, and behold, there appeared a smoking oven and a burning torch passing through these pieces. So, I am appears. I am the Lord. And he passes through in some sort of theophanic manifestation. And it reminds us too of the burning torch or the light
I suppose it's time.
that we read about
Proventus, what do you make of all this?
in Isaiah 6 when the colt was taken from
As in all things, caution. I urge us to wait and see.
the heavenly temple, and
I'm
Isaiah
of a mind
says,
with Ireland.
I'm not worthy. Do we want
Time
to
to act.
remember this?
You plan to march?
So basically we have two lights here.
I'm not
Why is there
a
two
fool,
lights?
Proventus.
We
I
have
mean, it's time
Yahweh,
to challenge Ulfric to
Father.
face me as a man.
We
Or
have
march
two
his
lights.
storm cloaks up to the gates.
Interesting.
He'll do no such thing. A dagger in the back is all you could expect.
But I think it doesn't say in the passage that God passed between them. I think it says
He
God
simply
passed
walked up
between
to
them
the
at some
boy and
point.
murdered him.
That boy was High King of Skyrim.
I'm not the High King. But neither am I a boy, if Ulfric wants to challenge my rule in the old way.
Maybe I'm misremembering.
Though I suspect he'll prefer to send his...
Now you could say,
storm
well,
cloaks
but these are just
to do it for
angels. It is
True.
possible.
He's already
Possible because
proven
the
his
text doesn't
purpose.
immediately
Now he seeks to prove his own.
identify the two
Then might I
lights.
urge you to
So
consider
you could say,
General
okay, well there
Tullius's
was this
request.
flame then
I
is
mean, if you
not
are bent on offending
necessarily
Ulfric.
Ulfric is the one
you know,
who has
a
offended.
representation of the sun and the spirit or whatever.
Proventus has a point.
But even if it's
Ulfric
not a
is
direct
in his mind,
manifestation of
refusing
the
blame is to side with
sun,
the
and
enemy.
we know that it wouldn't be the direct manifestation of the spirit because it's the energies of the spirit that appear in our view.
It seems cowardly.
Then what it would mean is
Cowardly
that
then
it's
to
the
accept the
symbol
white gold come
three. So
forth.
the three things present
That was
here
different.
are
Was I given a chance
word
to
and
object
the
to
two
the terms of
lights.
the treaty?
So it's still
No.
triadic
The
in
Jarls
its
were
symbology.
fast. We were told.
If you compare this
We had
to
to like
The chests of
the
Not at
story
the
with Abraham in
time
Genesis
of
18
this
eating
is-
his meal.
about the gold.
Because we actually know in that situation it's the Lord and two angels.
Wait. Let us
By
see
this
Ulfric.
point in,
So the next important passage is, of
like, I mean,
course,
look, if it's Skyrim,
So am I.
fighting for independence during the Oblivion timeline, the clear answer is no. Because at that point, the Tamriel Empire is
The
very...
Jarl of Windhelm has my answer.
But at
And
this
this is
point,
the
it's
story
literally
between
just, it's mainly just Skyrim and Sirid.
And the good
Sarah.
parchment.
Are we
and
right?
Hagar is cast out as the bondwoman.
Yes. The General Tullius.
And
I need to
when they
make a
flee the
few things
presence
clear
of
before I accept
Sarah,
these legionnaires of his.
the angel Lord, who we identify typically as the person of Christ, and we know that because of what is said in the passages. So, for example, here it says, "Return to your mistress and submit to her." The angel said, "I will multiply your descendants; it will be counted as a multitude." I will multiply your descendants, so that they shall not be counted from. The angel Lord said, "Behold, you are with child, and you will bear a son called Ishmael. Lord has heard your affliction; he will be a wild man," etc. And then, what does she name the place? She calls it Bir Lahai Roy, the well of the one who lives and sees me. So she names the well after God, who lives and sees me, because it's God that she's talking to. Because she calls it, this angel, the Lord. She called the name of the Lord who spoke to her. Who's speaking to her? Angel?
Ulfric. He's
Verse
expecting
9.
word from White.
Who does she identify it as?
White one is only a means to an end.
The name of the Lord who spoke to her, or the God who sees.
Whenever you are.
El Roy.
Is any
Ulfric.
man ever
He's
ready to give
expecting
the
word
order
from Whiterun.
that will mean the deaths of men?
So here we have again
But neither is it to give that
clear
order.
manifestation, and in the Septuagint it actually reads the way it's translated in the Orthodox Study Bible.
Ulfric. He's
It
expecting
doesn't
word
just
from
say I've seen God.
men and women.
It is face to
They
face.
call themselves
The Septuagint reads, "I have seen the one
Speak with
appeared
Ulfric.
to me
He's expecting word from
face to
Whiterun.
face."
Toughest sons of bitches Skyrim
Now
has
again,
to offer.
no one sees the Father at any time.
Want this. They want
So who
this
is
as
appearing
much as
face to
you
face?
do.
You can't
Perhaps
say it's
they
angels.
want it more.
because angels
Because they're
cannot be
joy.
given worship.
Whiterun's army
Called
will no
Yahweh.
doubt be bolstered with legionnaires.
Angels can't forgive sins.
And those
Angels
walls
can't be
around
redeemers.
Whiterun are old.
And yet we're going to find out that
They
this
still stand.
angel of the Lord forgives sins as the name of Yahweh. It's worshipped. It's a redeemer.
Kick those damn walls down with my bare feet.
In fact, he appears to Gideon. It even says
Yeah,
the face
let's kill those
Yahweh
Thalmor.
turned to Gideon.
They
Yahweh's
like to
face turned towards
fellatiate
Gideon.
Altmer, bro. We need to fucking get rid of
Send
them.
the word.
Skyrim belongs to the Nords, dude.
Now, in 17, we have the affirmation of the covenant again. And here we have the institution of circumcision.
Will greet that door, teeth and swords flashing.
But
So it begins. Make haste to. I have a feeling about you.
the most important passage
Your
is
place is
18
on that battlefield.
because, as Summers notes in his
Or
book,
die well.
Speak
the Lord appeared to him by the tree. So now we're getting beyond just Bethel. We're getting a tree. And so you'll notice that these trees are mentioned and they're noted because this is hearkening back to Eden. Tree of knowledge, of good and evil, and the tree of life. This is an image of the tree of life. Right? The Lord appeared to him by the terebinth trees of Mamre. And he was sitting in the door of the day. The tent. He lifted his eyes and looked. There's 3 men. And notice, one of these men is the Lord.
Not me. I'm the Dragonborn. I'm the fucking Dragonborn, bro.
Son and spirit. He's seeing angel.
And I've got the
son,
tools of
angel.
Tagernack.
So there's a symbol, image of the Trinity in the 3 visitors. But one of the
And his
visitors is said
gloves.
to be the
I have
Lord.
his
But note
gloves and his hammer.
that He is able to
The
have
tools
this
of
conversation
Tagernack.
with
And
the
soon I
person
shall
that
find the
sits
heart of Lorkhan itself.
and visits with him. They have a meal. People just have it very blows their mind. How could Jesus sit and eat a sits and eats meals throughout? Why can't God sit and eat a meal?
Oh shit, hey guys, I can call my
Not that
dragon
hard
to
to
help.
figure out if you believe God's omnipotent. Why can't he take on human nature? In fact, he can eat a meal without even having human nature. Right? So Abraham prepares food, and they have a meal with the visitors. Now, how do I know that?
Yeah.
Now, keep in mind too this idea of eating a meal with God, because that's going to come up again and again. This isn't the only instance where we have a eating of a meal with God. Abraham intercedes. Who's he talking to? Oh, and now I remember when I was a Protestant. Oh, this is just 3 angels. So Abraham's chilling, hanging out with angels.
Take
He's
care not to
bargaining
step
with
on
the
my
angels
fire.
not to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah because Lot's there. It actually says it's his way. So remember, the beginning of the passage is that the Lord appears him by the tree. Trees are significant in the book of Genesis, obviously. They have this meal and they talk about what's going to happen with. And then the Lord decides to go. And let's see, by the way, what the term is. I'm not actually sure which term is used for Lord. So let's see. It's Yahweh. So these passages are using, as you can see here, the term Yahweh. Yahweh appeared. And then the last passage. And then Yahweh went his way. Actually, there's Jehovah. So the first passage is Yahweh or Jehovah. Okay, so Jehovah appears and then Jehovah goes his way. Let's see, what's the root word? Yeah, the root word is Yah. Root word of Yehovah is Yah. Yehovah. that it was Jesus and who the other two messengers. Oh, the Lord goes his way. Now the two angels came to Sodom. You see that? So these are the same two that were with Abraham and the other visitor. So the Lord, two angels, these are the two angels of Eve, because the Lord has already left. See that? That's how we know that it's not literally the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah, dude, have you ever seen anyone bring a fucking dragon to a Civil War battle, bro?
And one of them being the Lord. Alright.
Yeah, and the Blades would have you kill Odahviing as well. They don't like any dragons. And look at Odahviing here. Oh! Isn't that fucking sick? Using a dragon to help me win a fucking battle. Think about how many...
And this is
that was pretty cool. That was pretty cool.
Had missed in the past. The Lord visited Sarah, as he said, as the Lord ever said, oops. The Lord visited Sarah, as he said, and is going to help her, right, obviously miraculously give birth. Miraculous births happen in the Old Testament as a foreshadowing of the miraculous birth, obviously, of the Messiah. But the key text here is 17. And we're told earlier that it's in Isaac will your seed be called, verse 12, verse 13. I will make a great nation of you, your maidservant, because he is your seed, right? And so the
fucking Balgrove is making an attempt on my life, dude. Balgrove was weak.
That it visited Sarah is the God who spoke and commanded, so it's the identical same referent. Paying attention? Then when we come down to 17, and God heard the voice of the lad. The angel called out to Hagar out of heaven and said, "What ails you? Fear not. God has heard the voice of the lad where he is. Arise, lift up the lad and hold him with your hand. I will make him a great nation." Then God opened her eyes. She saw a well of water. So God was with the lad. So it's another manifestation, right? That it's the same angel Lord speaking.
Not anymore. And you?
And it's the same God. And then we look at 22.
A convenient position to hold now. But mark my words, old man.
It's
In the
verse...
days to come, Ulfric will spread his rebellion thin.
Again, reaffirming this point in verse 10. They came to the place in which God had told him. Abraham built an altar there, placed wood. Then he bound Isaac his son, stretched him upon the altar upon the wood. So the father is offering up the son, the image of what happens on the cross. It's a type. Abraham stretched his hand out to slay, but shows up. The angel of the Lord, the messenger of the Lord. Remember, angel just means messenger. It can be
dude, fucking Vignar Greymane is based as fuck, dude.
The angel of the presence. Abram, here I am. Do not lay your hand on the lad. For I know that since you fear God, you have not withheld your son from me. So, from me. So the messenger is identifying himself as the one whom Abraham is not withholding the son from God, i.e. from me.
This isn't over. You old fool. This isn't over.
And I had before, I think, missed another theophany.
Come to regret this day.
Because we did, if you guys remember, we did a talk.
Not me, y'all, Balgrove. You know, and just because of this, I'm not... Oh, fuck, I didn't get the ebony blade yet. Fuck! I hope I can still get it. I mean, I just saw a video that said that he fucking sucked because he leaves his kids at the fucking Whiterun, Agonsry.
The promise here
In his
is, behold,
fucking defense. In his
the Lord God of heaven who
defense,
took me from my father's house from the
he
land of my
is
family spoke
related
to
to
me,
Big
swore to me,
Narco,
saying,
man.
to your descendants I will give this land, and he will send
Like, they
his
are
angel
related.
before you. And you will not take a wife or a son from there. In
And
fact,
the
we read this many
Battleborns are also
times in the Old
related.
Testament, this passage
Like the
of,
Battleborns,
and
the
his
Grey
angel
Mains,
will
and the
go before
Jarls,
you. The angel
the
goes
Whiterun,
before
they're all
the
related.
Israelites to conquer the promised land.
Like, they're the same family,
The
the
angel
same
of presence
dynasty.
goes before them. It will go before you. Who is this angel of presence that goes before everybody? Well, it's the same angel of the Lord that goes before the Israelites.
Entertaining thoughts of battle. The Empire
In
still
Exodus.
underestimates the force of our cause.
And I'll show you what I mean with that.
The Empire
If we look at
takes
Exodus
the full
23.
from us with a sword. Skyrim's bravest are buried there and will fill our
Verse
hearts.
20.
Really?
Behold, I send my angel before you
Now that
keep
the
you on the
Empire
way,
has been driven from the reach,
to bring you to the
we can
place that I
put a stop
prepared.
to the raping
Beware of him and obey his
my
voice,
father.
and do not provoke him.
I, his
Not
only
pardon
son,
your
when finally
transgressions.
set
And an angel
Samuel
forgives
in
sins.
the
No, only God
throne
forgives
of
sins.
Edomor, the
And yet
throne
here
of
we
my
have
father.
the angel
Stormcloaks are
in
fighting
whose,
victory across the
who has the name of Yahweh in him. My name is in him.
Soon enough, we will
Yahweh,
march on
the name is in him.
And
Remember,
on that
God does
day
not
the
give his
heroes
glory
of
to another.
Losing the rift gives Tullius easy
And yet the name of
access
Yahweh
south
is in
of
him.
this march.
But if you indeed
God will
obey him,
preserve us. We must take it back.
his voice and all that, then I will be an enemy
Go with the gods.
to your enemies and adversary. Or my angel will go before you to bring you into the Amorites, Hittites, Perizzites, and the Canaanites, Hivites, and the Jebusites, and I will cut them off. So, the charge to enter the promised
I
land
hate the waiting. Can't wait to kill
is Jesus
another
going before them. You ever think about that? It's pretty wild. So when people fuss about how Jesus is a God, oh really? Like how he went into the promised land? To why? To be unfair? No, to reconquer it because the pagans had taken it from the righteous that was their property in the days of Melchizedek.
Soon enough, we will march on Solitude. And on that day, we're fighting on the sky. We're fighting.
One little
We're
point
fighting.
here in 24 that Summers notes in his book,
And there's no one else
which is that in verse 48, it helps us identify. I'm sorry, Genesis 20, not Exodus. I bow my head and worship the God of Abraham. So it's letting us know that the same angel presence
Now that the
that
Empire
keeps
has been
appearing
driven,
is the one that is being given worship.
I killed
Now remember, you're not supposed to
two
worship
High
creatures.
How
We've
is
been
the
told
High
over and
King
over and over
supposed to
that
be the-
this
I
being that
challenge.
appears,
True.
and you'll
That was
notice
precisely
here,
the point.
again, it's identified
His father
62.
before him, perhaps, but not
Isaac
for
came
him.
from the way of Bir
He was too
Lahai Roy.
privileged and too
We heard that
foolish,
earlier because that's
more
where,
interested in entertaining
Hagar,
his queen than ruling
right,
his
had called
country.
that place. What is it? Well of vision.
Indeed. Ellis
And then he
has
dwelt in the
become
south.
God, but the moot has not yet met the name of
So, it's
They
why is it called the Well of
There
Vision?
hasn't been a
Is it a
truth
Well of
for
Vision
too long.
because
He's been
there
handpicked by the Emperor,
an angel that
given
was seen?
ecstatic nods by
No.
Moot. It's
Vision
time we
of
had
God.
a real High King.
And note that it's
One of
another
our
place,
own.
another location that is called
We
holy.
should take Yarmouth.
And then it's repeated.
It'll be an
By the way,
important
places, trees, houses, etc. are being called holy. This is proving that we're not an iconoclast religion.
point on the Imperials.
And then it's stated again here, and it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac. And Isaac dwelt at Well of Vision. Now, moving on through Genesis.
Soon enough, we will march on Salt. The Imperials have already dug into Whiterun. We're rested
Genesis
from this
26.
We must. Its central position is key.
Do I seriously have to be in Whiterun
This
a
is,
little bit
Isaac and
longer? Like, what
Abimelech.
the fuck is
And
going
in
on
verse
here? Like,
23,
I
we
guess.
have, then he went up from there to Beersheba, and the Lord appeared to him the same night. So the same God, the same Lord that's appearing, same referent. I am the God of Abraham. Do not fear, I am with you. I'll bless you, multiple, etc. So he does the same thing, right, that Abraham did. He built an altar there, called on the name of the Lord, and he pitched his tent. So again, notice that not iconoclastic. It's a God who appears, and it's a place where you build an altar. It's a place that's holy. It's later, it's also called the Well of Oath, or the Well of Covenant. Same chapter in, 33. So he called it Sheba. Therefore, the city is called Beersheba to this day. That is the Well of Oath, Well of Seven, Well, the Oaths of Seven. 7 is just an image of perfection. 7 also relates to covenant because in Genesis, the 7th day is the Sabbath. That's the completion of the creation covenant. And so 7 typically has a connection both to the Sabbath and to the covenant. Next is the theophany in Genesis 28. By the way, if you want to support the stream, thank you guys. Appreciate that. We've already got a couple supporters here. You can support via Super Chats. Super Chats are done here through Streamlabs. Since this will be a long series, it's not going to all be free. It's going to be half and half. This is the first half. We'll see how far we get. And then however far we get, the next section will be the part 2 for subscribers to my website or to Rockfin. And by the way, yes, I know. I understand I'm late on this. I'm almost done with the book. I'm at the very last little couple chapters of the history of sexpionage book. So we just got that much more to go, and then I'll have the part 2 ready to go. So we've been super busy with all these podcasts and all these interviews. It's hard to find time to read all this.
All this standing around is rubbish.
Get through all these. I got so many books I want to get to. Check out these new editions that we got here.
Ain't nobody high and mighty in these
Everybody keeps saying, hey, when are you going to talk about Sabbatian Frankism? I'm familiar with this. I read about it a long time ago. But the premier Kabbalist scholar,
Take an enchanted
Gershom Scholem, turns out he has a lesser-known book called From Frankism to Jacobinism. So perhaps there is Sabbatian
I can scarcely
luminous connection. So we'll take a look at that book down the road and see. I forget who recommended this. This is one of the Goblin Globalists. Oh, it's Edward E.O. Wilson. So E.O. Wilson of Changing Images of Man fame has this other globalist book that I never heard of. I forget. I apologize to whoever was promoting it. I just don't, or not promoting it, but saying I should read it. I don't remember who it was. Tristan, Jim Bob, I can't remember. But basically, half Earth, our planet's fight for life, right? Another one of these like eco worship. Like, oh, if we don't go vegan and worship. But that would probably be pretty important. I mean, he's one of the key sort of global architects. And I also got
Dude, that's like the basic neocon shit.
What if we just cover
That's fucking
academic texts
neocon.
on the history of Tavistock?
Oh, Bulgra.
That'll be a fun read too. Actually, won't be a really good. And I also got the Fabian Freeway, but it's over there on the shelf. So
You tried mercenary
I know
work?
a lot of people have said Fabian
This is
Freeway. I finally got
weird.
it. So that's the history of the Fabian Society. By Rose, I think is her name.
Yeah, by me.
Alright, anyway, thank you guys. Remember, support the stream via Super Chats. Support there. Use the Streamlabs link to send me a Super Chat, questions, or whatever. Will be welcomed. But I'm only going to read and interact with the Super Chat questions. Next, Theophany is Genesis 28. Now, everybody's heard of this one. Everybody knows this one. But it's also one of the most profound. So there's a couple in Genesis that are really profound. But this one is really profound because it's Jacob's ladder.
Yeah, take this.
And if we pay attention to what's going on in the story, we see how Christological it really is.
Alma will have special tasks.
So Jacob went out from Beersheba towards Haran, and came to a place. He stayed there all night. The sun set. Went into a deep sleep. This is also like what we saw with Abraham. And he dreamed that a ladder was set up. His top reached to heaven. The angels of God were ascending and descending upon it. The Lord stood above it and said, I am God, Abraham, and your father, the God of Isaac. Land in which you lie, I will give to you and your descendants. Your descendants shall be as the dust of the earth. It shall spread around to the west, the east, etc. I am with you.
Hold it there. Another
Jacob said in his sleep, surely God is in this place, and I did not know it.
Same as the
So this is now
it's
another
like an
place
animal got to her.
that's going to
But
be
these are the wounds of a
consecrated,
blade. So same
because
as
he's
the
actually
third.
laying in the
It's always
promised
the
land.
same. Young girl.
And he calls it none other than the house of God.
If you want,
How awesome
I'm going
is
to
this
examine
place?
the body before the rats can get to it.
And this is the gate of heaven. Who's the gate of heaven? Who's being spoken of? Who's speaking?
Another one. Terrible. I heard a scream and came running, but she was already like this.
Well, when Jesus meets Nathanael, Jesus answered and said to him, because I saw you under the fig tree, you will see greater things than this. Most assuredly I say hereafter you will see heaven open, and the angels of God ascending and descending upon the Son of Man.
Hey, just like always, nobody
Just
saw
read.
anything. Look, friend, if you think you can
Jacob
do better
saw
than
the
the
ladder.
legion of guards,
The
be my
angels of
guest.
God were ascending
You
and
need to
descending
talk to
upon
your
it.
life. If he's willing,
Who's
then we'll
speaking
talk.
at the top of this ladder? Jesus? Jesus himself identifies him as Jacob's ladder. And the God that appeared spoke. And Jacob dedicates this place. He put up a pillar and pours oil on it. So he anoints a pillar. Stone pillar. Stone. Stone that the builders reject. The anointed is stone.
Across the land.
Another image and type of Christ.
I'm not much of a. These
It's also a type of the church,
My men are
because the church is
I'm happy
the
to lend a
house of
hand as
God.
much as I can as well. Any luck finding the butcher? Travel safely. It's dangerous out there. How goes the investigation?
The stone also
Well, nothing official.
is
Only
the stones of the
seems to
12
value
tribes
my
of Israel.
thoughts, and I'm grateful.
So the
for that.
stones will be the
I don't
pillar
really
stones,
have
the
a mind
foundation
for war,
stones
and I
of the
guilty
tribes.
having an untrained opinion.
I think, isn't it Joshua that sets up 12 stones? I think. I'm going from memory. It's been a while since I. But. And then we get, of course, the foundation stones of the New Jerusalem. So stones play a key role in symbology. But again, this house of God is identified both as
All right, then.
Christ.
I noticed the trail
Christ
of
is also the
elders
anointed
taking the
stone
body
here.
into the hall of the dead to prepare for burial. She's a little
Okay, we'll
crazy,
move to
but
31.
if she knows anything, it's dead bodies. You're that one from the college. Heard about you.
Nobody wants to send any super chats tonight. Everybody's been saying, when are you going to do another theology stream?
The
You've
fuck
been-
did I
you've
do
been,
at the college?
Too lax on that. Here we are, we got 2 super chats. So if you're learning stuff,
Large Well, she's dead. I mean, someone who
be sure to support us. High
was
fructose
only joking.
syrup, $10. Jay, I'm a new catechumen of Sorbonne Orthodox Church. Last week, we asked the saints to save us at the end of the liturgy. What does that mean? Why does he say that? It's talking about the saints praying for us, just like we read Abraham interceding
I don't know who and
with
when
Jesus
even have something
for
like that.
Lot
Better than me,
and
of
for
course.
Sodom. The saints in heaven intercede and do the exact same thing. Theosis Pilgrim.
I would.
This is an excellent
No,
series
I really
idea. The
gotta
Trad
get
Cats
back
and the
to
Muslims will be
Lot of
ever
work to prepare for the
BTFO'd.
grave.
God is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Exactly. Yeah, and he
Shut
never
up,
revealed
bitch.
himself as a generic
I'm on the
unity.
Jarl's
That alone
business.
undercuts all the nonsense of what they push. And that means they don't have the right God.
The Jarl thinks he's fighting a war.
If you don't have the right God, then you're
Himself, High King.
speaking into the
But in reality, it's gonna
It's
be
all
me who
noise.
has got words to say
Okay,
about
next
it.
theophany is Genesis
I'll
31.
kill him.
And this is 11. This is the story with Laban.
And as far as I know,
the angel of God
there's
spoke to
no
him,
more
saying,
storm
Jacob,
clouds.
here I am.
Heard you were at the wedding.
Lift
of
up
the
your
Emperor's
eyes and
cousin
see,
in solitude.
Rams, etc. I am the God of
That must have been
Bethel.
horrible.
You
Yeah.
anointed the pillar. And made
I
a
mean,
vow
not
to me.
from. I mean, I almost got caught.
Now note, the angel of God is speaking and saying, I am the God. The angel of God is saying, I am the God. Creatures can't say, I'm God. I'll do that. That'd be blasphemous. But it's the same God speaking to Jacob here that spoke to him in Genesis 28, reaffirming the Abrahamic covenant promise. And we get this reaffirmed in 32 as well, where at the end of 32, we read, that Jacob has a bizarre wrestling event. Now, this passage is so obvious. I can't fathom how anybody misunderstands this. Like, how do you think he's wrestling with? And the physicality of it is kind of funny because the physicality of it shows that it's not God the Father. And the person that's being wrestled with here is clearly called God. So how is it possible? Is this not Gabriel? It's not Michael.
I'm not much of a
It's
strategist.
not some
but
Jewish
Lord
superstition
Ulf's
about
British attitude,
Metatron.
I think her mother, Tova, has the
It's
key.
pretty clearly identified in the text who he's wrestling with.
If you have any news of the Western Frigashatas, I think her mother, Tova, has the key.
I will not let you go until you bless
Travel
me.
safely.
Bless me.
It's dangerous out there.
God said, what is your name? Jacob. You will no longer be called Jacob, but Israel. For you have struggled with God and with men and prevailed. Tell me your name. Why is it that you ask my name? And he blessed him. So Jacob wrestles with God, says, bless me. Says, why do you ask my name? The same phrase is used when the angel of the Lord appears to Manoah, Samson's parents. And they say, who are you? And he says, why do you ask my name, seeing as it is wonderful? And as you guys know, as we've talked about many times in interviews with Sam Shamoon, wonderful counselor, mighty God. Isaiah identifies who that is. And of course, this is Jesus appearing to Noah and his wife. And they say, we've seen God, we're going to die. Now, did you know the whole triad is present here in Judges 13? The Lord, right, sends his angel. They call the angel God. And then it says, and the Spirit of the Lord began to move on him at Dan, between Morah and Eshtal. Mahana Dan. So this is talking about coming upon Samson. So in Judges 13 alone, you have all three persons present in that chapter. But I just wanted to highlight this point. Why do you ask my name, seeing as it is a wonderful name? Right? In Judges 13 to Samson's parents. Why do you ask my name? Why do you ask about my name? Any listener? Same phraseology. Jesus. How do we know that's who he's wrestling with? For Jacob called the name of this place Peniel.
The Stormcloaks are finding victory across the land.
For I have seen God
Have you been
face
talking
to
to
face, and my life
Ask her
was
about it
preserved.
if you want an earful. I've never
What is
seen anything.
Peniel?
Might even give you a bit of
Prince
both.
with God.
Travel safely. It's dangerous out there.
So Jacob is now given a new name, a new title, saying, I'm a prince now with God. And I have seen God face to face in this event of wrestling with this form of God.
Talos rewards.
How is this possible? Why is it not
Be on
possible
the
for
lookout.
the theophanies cut
The gods
away
won't
all
help.
these dumb,
People won't
scholastic,
help. I'm the
Roman
only-
Catholic,
Huh?
absolute divine simplicity
What's it
nonsenses,
say?
and just simply
Woofer.
presenting the fact that
But he's a dangerous...
Logos appears
This
and wrestles,
information needs
Jacob,
to go straight to
and it's
Stuart.
clearly identified as the
He'll
Logos.
listen to you.
And we don't need your scholastic, metaphysical dogmas and speculations. We know what's revealed. We don't have to sit and try to justify it. Hey guys, go ahead, hit like and
I'm
share.
not much of a strategist.
you're
Lord
enjoying this?
Ulfric that's quite an accusation.
What else is there to
I
do
don't
on a
want
Friday
to
night
believe
other than to learn
Woundfirth
the
has been a
alphabet?
trusted friend to Ulfric.
All right.
It pains me to see that Woundfirth shall be at the streets of Windhelm are now safe.
Are we at 32 yet?
Oh, you smell like a wet dog.
Yeah, so if you have the Orthodox Study Bible, this is interesting because the Septuagint translation here at the bottom, the end of the chapter, is even more poignant. It says, Jacob asked, saying, tell me that place.
You spare a few coins to help someone who's got nothing.
pretty much back. I just actually learned right now that Fly Fishing Hall of Famer Flip Pallet died a couple weeks ago. Did not know. Listen to that.
Form of God. The translation here
back like
at
30
the bottom,
seconds.
the end of the chapter is even more poignant. It says,
Yeah, I got myself some
Jacob
some
asked,
nice
saying, "Tell me your name,
traditional
I pray.
Italian
Why do you ask
food,
about my name?" And he
Chef
blessed him.
Boyardee
So Jacob called that
raviolis.
place Form of God. Because I saw God face to face and my soul was saved. So once again, in the Septuagint translation, it's even more Christological or Christocentric because we actually have the mentioning of the form of God. I saw the form of God. God the Father has no form. There's this form that's appearing. That is the Logos, the Son. All right, next theophany is 35. And once again, we're told, like, we're still in Genesis. You understand? We're an hour and a half in. We're still in Genesis with Trinitarian references. The Old Testament of the Trinity. How many people were telling me this in the last 2 days? It's completely, I guarantee they're not familiar with the passages. Now, 35. God said to Jacob, "Arise and go to Bethel and make an altar, for I'm the God who appeared to you as you fled from the face of your brother Esau." So note that God appears, and then at verse 9, God appeared.
Yeah, and it's called Orphan Rock because that's where I
where he
make
came
orphans.
from Padan Aram and blessed it.
I
God
find
said, "Your
people
name is Jacob.
and make sure
You
that
will
they
not be
have
called
kids.
Jacob
So
anymore.
oh,
Israel."
what is
So
happening
he
with
called his
my...
name Israel. Then the person that's here says, "I am God. Be fruitful and multiply." Then God left that place. Think about this. Think how mind-bending and ridiculous it is for the Roman Catholics and the absolute divine simplicity proponents who have destroyed all of their strongest evidences for the Trinity in the Old Testament by adopting the stupid view that it's all angels and holograms. It's angelic projections. Why? Because an absolutely simple deity can't appear in time and space and can't go away. And yet the text says God went up from there. Why? Because as the Septuagint says, he's interacting with, seeing the form of God. Who's the form of God? It says, being in the form of God, Jesus did not consider it robbery to be equal with God, but took on the form of a servant. Talking about the incarnation. The form of God is the same glory of God and face of God.
Yo, I'm gonna be real
Son
with
of God.
you. The fucking Chef
And one like the Son of
Boyardee
Man. The first 10 chapters of
on a
Ezekiel.
club cracker.
We did a whole lecture. You guys don't remember the Ezekiel time? We did a whole lecture on the first 10 chapters. Where's the Trinity in the Old
Just
Testament?
fucking catch money.
The entire triad is constantly mentioned in the first 10 chapters
We
of
got
Ezekiel.
that.
What are you
Not
talking
trash
about?
beef tartare. Really? No.
Valley of dry bone. Triad. Spirit. You didn't know that? Wait a minute. I've heard of the Valley of dry bone. Yeah, doesn't it mention the Holy Spirit? Oh. Trinity. It don't say homoousios. All right. 13. Did I see 13? Yeah. And then he pours a drink offering on the pillar, stone, and oil. And Jacob again calls this place Bethel, house of God. Now, Joseph obviously is in many ways a type of Christ. He is sold into bondage and he's rejected by his brethren. Christ is rejected. He's then raised to be Lord of all. Joseph is raised up by Pharaoh as Lord of all. So many things in that life that point to Christ. We don't really get a theophany exactly in that story, but we do get mentions of the theophany at the end. And Jacob blesses his grandsons, and then Jacob has final words. So that's what we'll look at next. But the next theophany is 46. And by the way, it's entirely possible that I've missed something. So if you're very adept at the scriptures, and if you've noticed things in the story of Joseph, again, other than Joseph being an obvious type of Christ in many ways, if there's something I missed, he has a dream, he interprets dreams, he's blessed by God. The Lord saw. So they saw that the Lord was with Joseph, but I'm not aware of a theophany story. I didn't notice one either with Judah and Tamar. So skip to 46. So Israel took his journey and all that he had to Beersheba and offered sacrifices to God of his father Isaac. Then God spoke to Israel in the visions of the night. He said, "Here I am. I am the God of your fathers." And then I think if you cross-reference that with 22:11, we have an identification with
well, look who
that is. That is the angel, right? So if you go back to 22:11, right, it is the angel of the Lord, the God or the Lord who appears.
Good to hear.
At the offering of Isaac, I am the Lord. He called this place the Lord who appears.
You know,
and it's the angel who appears, right?
I see the battle stretched out before me.
And that's at they go together to the Well of Oath in 22.
The man you've killed haunt you?
Nope.
This means that God is identifying himself here as the one that appeared as the angel.
I suppose you're right. They say it gets easier. I'm not sure if that's a good thing. But never mind all that. We've got a job to do.
Because this is also Well of Oath? Yeah, so the Well of Oath is what's mentioned in 22, is what I'm trying to say. Does that make sense?
Yeah, well, look, I kind of bet Galmar
maybe Well of Oath is not mentioned in the Masoretic.
that I could do this
mentioned here. It's mentioned
during the day.
We found
verse
a cave
5 in this one.
With luck, it'll lead into the prison.
Beersheba. Okay, so it's the same location. It just doesn't mention
Killing anyone inside as you go.
This lets you know that it's the same event. It's mirroring the events of 22.
Head out to the courtyard. We'll stand guard out here.
And then 22.
Rush in as soon as we hear fighting.
One last thing I wanted to check. 22:11. 22:11 says, "But the angel of the Lord called to him from heaven, Abram, Abram. The angel of the Lord said a second time, Well, I have sworn, you and your seed will inherit the nations, because you obey my voice." So Abraham said to his servants, and they rose and they went to the Well of Oath. Well of Oath is same thing, same place here. So, okay, we're coming to the end of Genesis for theophanies and triadic revelation. And the next statement is here, 48. So Jacob's going to kind of rehearse his story in this blessing. And he says in 48:15, when he blesses Joseph, God, before my fathers Abraham and Isaac walked, God who has fed me this life, my whole life long in this day, the angel who redeemed me from all evil. So the angel of the presence, the angel who redeemed him, the angel of the Lord that has appeared, is this God. Same referent. Because an angel can't redeem you. But God can redeem you. See that? And then, that I think is all the references that I had noticed in the book of Genesis. So note that already we've seen quite a bit of textual evidence for, first, multiplicity. There is this unknown father in the sense of unknown or unseen. I won't say unknown like they didn't know him. Unseen father, but this Yahweh Father has a second person who is identified as the form, or as the angel, or as the messenger, or as the presence. And we also have the Spirit. The Spirit, of course, was present in the very beginning at the creation account. And it is interesting that we don't have a lot of revelation in the rest of Genesis of the Spirit. Why in God's providence that's the case, I'm not sure. We do have, I did miss Genesis 6, excuse me. Genesis 6 does mention, okay, there's another one too, excuse me. Pharaoh, actually, so interesting. So I missed, see how it's easy to miss these? So in Genesis 6, my spirit will not always strive with man, for he is flesh, and yet his days will be 120. And then, although it's not a theophany, Genesis 41:38, Pharaoh actually says that the spirit of God is in Jacob. Interesting. So even Pharaoh speaks in this mysterious way. 41:38. See how easy it is to miss? I see, even I missed that.
Thanks.
And I've been reading through these passages many times. Yes, so look at that. The Spirit of God. Can we find such a man as this? In whom is the Spirit of God, said Pharaoh to Joseph. Okay, so that's as far as I could tell. Anybody, if you miss any more, please let me know. Thank you for the support there for the super chats. Appreciate that, you guys. So we're going to move into Exodus next. That's all I could find there. And there's quite a few theophanies in the book of Exodus. In fact, the Trinity is very present in the book of Exodus. Perhaps even in certain ways and places more than in Genesis. I mean, we've had a pretty good substantial bit of evidence from Genesis. We're actually going to get a little more old manifestations in the book of Exodus than we've even had in the book of Genesis. And that will include the Holy Spirit. I'm pretty sure, going from memory, it's been a bit since I read Exodus 3. I did read it very recently. But we do get Spirit mentioned in 31 and 33. But we're going to have some very clear and obvious manifestations of Christ, his presence, the presence of Yahweh, the angel of the presence. And we're going to have this mirroring with the eating. Remember that Abraham had the meal with the Lord? Moses is going to go and have the exact same type of meal. How do you have a meal with an absolutely simple essence? Hello? Can you hear that, Thomas and Roman Catholics? Muslims who think that their religion is in continuity with the prophets.
You call yourself a
Or can you have a meal with Allah?
warrior?
It is all a symbol. It is a symbol. No, not a symbol. It's not a symbol because the meal that you have with Yahweh is the meal that we have with Yahweh called the Lord's Supper. That's not a symbol. It's a real meal. So we'll stop there with theophanies. I think I caught everyone. I can't see any more in any notes or anything. It's in the book. And we'll move on to Exodus 3. Of course, obviously, you all probably know what Exodus 3 is. That's the burning bush. The burning bush is mysteriously even mentioned in the Quran. So they didn't even know well enough what the scriptures were talking about when they were mixing up and creating this hodgepodge known as the Quran, because they kept the burning bush in the Quran, which doesn't make any sense because Allah does not appear in time and space in some form, right? He has no form. And we agree that God the Father has no form. But if you believe already freaking half the chapters of Genesis, maybe not half, third of the chapters of Genesis have already told us that there is a form of and he's called Yahweh, and he's a redeemer, and he forgives sins. We'll find that later. The angel of the Lord sins. Oh, actually, we saw that in Exodus 20. But of course, the burning bush is very well known. And of course, Orthodox iconography kind of already tells you the right theology. So isn't it amazing that you don't have to know a bunch of even if you can't read, if you can read the icons as a person, let's say you're illiterate, you're a medieval Greek peasant, right? You can't read theology texts. Well, but you know that when you walk into your church, you see the burning bush icon. It's Jesus in the bush. And of course, yes, Mary is a type of burning bush in that she's not consumed by the presence of the divinity when she becomes the means for his human nature, right? So, I mean, she's talking about the virgin birth and that he derives his human nature from Mary. And she becomes a type of Ark of the Covenant, and she is not consumed in much the same way as burning bush is not consumed. But we wouldn't say that Mary is at the burning bush. Okay, so this is teaching a theological principle of the incarnation, but it's also teaching us that it's Jesus in the burning bush. And Jesus, again, in John 5 through 9, explains that he's the one that talked to Moses. Paul in 2 Corinthians 3 explains that it's Jesus was talking to Moses face to face. Paul says it clearly. And think how silly it would be to say that
Great work. Get back and
they
report our
talked face to
success.
face with Jesus, but they didn't know it was Jesus, and they didn't know about the Father.
Glad you were here.
This is
Couldn't have done
ridiculous.
it without.
Of course they did. Fact. Maybe I should read Saint Maximus. This is Athanasium 28:2. God appeared to Abraham, was perfect in knowledge and already possessed an intellect that was beyond mere matter and its figurations. God taught Abraham the immaterial principle of the triad, inheres in the principle of its unity.
I'm proud we
For
live
this
in a
reason,
concrete
God
free
appeared to
empire.
Abraham as three
In
and
many
spoke as
ways, it's the heart and soul of Skyrim. Not to mention, it's rather a strategic.
God
position.
taught Abraham triad according to Saint Maximus.
calling you Bonebreaker. Evidence of your
Why would that be?
philosophy and
Well, because if you
determination
drop all your
fitting name.
suppositions and
So we
look
shall
at the
all
text as
hold
we're
with us.
talking about here,
The war demands
then it makes
so much
perfect
from
sense.
us. And we give
So,
all we have to
story
it
of Moses
and to the people. But I've kept a little something to offer you.
in Exodus 3.
Please take this on behalf of all the brothers and sisters. And I need capable and loyal warriors close at hand. so I'd like to offer you a holy
Now the
welcome.
angel of the Lord
Speak with my
appeared to
steward.
Moses in a flame in the midst of the bush. Well, I wonder who the angel is. Why? It's
You'll
the
need to
same
be all
angel
much.
Lord
There's much to
who's
be
appeared
done.
all throughout Genesis, obviously. And the angel says, Moses says, he noticed that the bush wasn't burned. This is the uncreated energies. This is not a created fire. God has no created fire. There's no created God. This is a theophany, an uncreated energy manifesting in time and space. I can do that because... Then Moses said, I will turn aside and see this great sight. Why does the bush not burn? So when the Lord saw that he turned aside to look, God called in the midst of the bush. God from the bush. It doesn't say an angelic representative of God called from the bush. It says the Lord saw. God called from the bush. And he said, here I am. The angel said, do not draw near this place. Take off your feet. It's holy ground. I am the Lord God. It's not an angel. It's not a created angel like Gabriel. It's the creator of the angels, the angel of the Lord Jesus. You see. And then we get the dialogue back and
Your
forth.
feet need to be quick and your eyes quicker.
And then we had this same questioning earlier, remember? We had the question, who are you? Jacob asked, what's your name? And Moses says, hey, what is your name? And God says, I am who I am.
Got some good
Asher, I am who I am.
Blades, helmets, pretty much anything to suit your needs.
And remember, as Palamos says, is this a statement that God is saying in Greek metaphysics? I am supreme essence. I am the absolute monad. No, it's a statement, I am He. I am personal God.
Stay sharp.
Say, I am sent you. And of course, Jesus, many times in the Gospel of John, asks him, who are you? Jesus replies, I am. Identifying himself with the person speaking in English, God. Had already identified as God. Well, who will I say sent me? Tell him God sent you. Now, does that mean that we can't call God supreme existence? Of course not. It's just that Thomists, for example, Etienne Gilson says that this passage means that God is supreme essence, pure existence. It's not what it's saying. It's a personal God, the Hebrews, not the impersonal essence of the Greeks. The name I am, the existing one, is the name for true God. God's essence is a boundless sea, contains all things, yet is contained by none. The Son is eternally begotten of this essence of the Father. When Jesus said he is the existing one, the Jews took up stones to stone him. They knew that he was referring to this passage in Exodus, John 8:57-59. Thus he acknowledged that as the existing one, Jesus is one speaking out of the bush. All right. Now this is an interesting passage, which is a mysterious passage, but an example of where Moses is a little disobedient, and the angel of the Lord is not happy with the fact that Moses was lazy in circumcising his son, right? The Lord said to Aaron, go to the wilderness and meet Moses. 24. It came to pass the way they came at him and sought to kill him. Zipporah took a sharp stone and cut the foreskin of her son. Cast it Moses' feet, unto me. So, he would go. So, he there, this is an interesting one. 26 is the referent he, the party. This seems to be a reference to the angel. But, actually, excuse me, no. Masoretic says the Lord. So this is another lesser known and remembered author. Excuse me. And so the Septuagint, interesting, it says angel of the Lord. And Masoretic says, either way, how did the Lord meet him if there's no form of God and sought to kill him? And then the referent here is he let him go. And the Septuagint is identified as the angel of the Lord. Alright, let's see. Next. So next is a sort of showdown between Pharaoh and Moses. And there's a lot of typology, obviously, in the Passover and all that. But specifically, we're looking more so for theophanies. And the next theophany is going to be the pillar cloud. That will be in the part 2. We've almost gone for 2 hours, so we'll go ahead and stop here. And then part 2 will be for those who subscribe to the website. You can access through subscribing to the member section at jaysanalysis.com. And we will go into the rest of Exodus. There's a lot of really amazing, meaty stuff in Exodus. I mean, we get again this meal. We get the cloud, because the glory cloud will come down upon the tabernacle, and it's said to be the Lord's glory. How can the Lord's glory is a cloud in time and space? Oh, that's because theophanies are real and it's really God. So you can subscribe at the website to get the rest of that, access to all that, and we'll go to, we got some super chats here. We got Spirit on 1750. So much Spirit on, appreciate that. Generous super chat by you. Jquo, $3. Does divine simplicity mean God cannot act in time and space? No, we all believe in divine simplicity, right? It's just how you find that makes it possible or not. So if you read, for example, the way that the Neoplatonic definition of divine simplicity is cashed out, God is an absolutely simple essence who cannot be in time and space, right? That's even what Ed Fazer says. Read his chapter on the Neoplatonic proofs of God. Apparently it didn't occur to him that if you use the Neoplatonic proofs of God where you